I'm very excited today here on Just Seen It because today we're going to talk about our favorite television dramas. The HBO shows, they're just off the table. We have spent a significant time talking about Boardwalk Empire,
Too good.
Game of Thrones, and so on and so forth, right? So having said that, I'm excited to hear about everybody's favorite picks. Salim, why don't you start?
Walking Dead.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm here representing The Killing.
And I'm going to talk about Once Upon a Time on ABC.
Well, this should be a very, very enriching conversation.
I agree.
Salim, why don't you kick it off?
I sure will.
I'm sorry this happened to you.
After the zombie apocalypse ravages the world, we follow protagonist Rick Grimes as he tries to keep his family and a small group of survivors together, surviving not only zombies, but also themselves. Now, this is a 1-hour serialized drama with head writers Robert Kirkman and Glenn Mazzara. For the first season, the showrunner was Frank Darabont, who we know from movies like The Mist and Shawshank Redemption. But unfortunately, he was fired from the show. So after he was fired, the show kind of lagged a little bit. Before, they would be in different locations. You want to try to find the safest location. If zombies come, you gotta leave. For the second season, they're pretty much in one location for the majority of the time. Even though the series slumped a little bit, I must say that it is really quite amazing in terms of showing us what characters would be going through if they would be going through a zombie apocalypse. Now, sometimes they don't make the smartest decisions, and that's mainly because, if you're going through a zombie apocalypse, you're not gonna be in the most coherent state of mind all the time. Lead actor Andrew Lincoln, who plays Rick Grimes, he's amazing. He's naive at the very beginning because he is this cop who wants to do good, but he realizes over time that he can't do good for everybody in this new world. You can't be the same person that you were before the zombie apocalypse.
All I am anymore is a man looking for his wife and son. Anybody gets in the way of that's gonna lose.
All this being said, the show had its bumps, it had its ups and downs, but it really has a fantastic ending because it shows us where we're gonna be at the next season, which is gonna be a prison. And really, I can't wait.
I'm also talking about a show that's on AMC that is going to be premiering its second season very soon. It's called The Killing.
What if Rosie was part of something bigger? Holder lied to me.
Somehow it's a conspiracy.
You're making a big mistake.
What if Richmond's innocent?
The Killing.
It is an adaptation of a Danish show. The American version is set in Seattle, in the Pacific Northwest, and so it's dark and it's cold, so atmosphere is really important to this story. Detective Sarah Linden has a son, and she has a fiance who lives in California, and she is giving up cop work so that she and her son can relocate to California to be with her fiance. And as she's getting ready to leave, she has to take on one last case. And it involves the murder of a 19-year-old local girl. And so we spend the entire season, or 13 episodes, following this one murder. So we follow all of these potential suspects and we move and shake around in the Seattle area. We go across the water to the Indian casinos. Everybody's a suspect. Everybody knows everybody. You don't really trust anybody. There are lots of red herrings. Some of them are obvious. Some of them are not so obvious. This is not CSI. This is not Law and Order. This is one case over the course of now 2 seasons. How do we stay connected? Well, the show is very interested thematically in their characters and in their characters' lives and what's going on with them. But it's also heavily invested in a sense of community and what can happen to a community when you have a tragedy like this occur. One of the reasons why the show is so successful is because of its lead actress, Mireille. Enos. There's nothing glossy about her. She is rugged. She's kind of frumpy.
She's real.
But she's real and
Yeah.
she's smart. And that's why we embrace her. And it's very, very moody. So those are the reasons why I am a big fan of The Killing.
So my show's not edgy at all, but my show on ABC, it's a really good network show. And I think it's a gem among some of the new shows that have come out.
Every story in this book actually happened. You should know more than anyone.
Why is that?
Because you're in this book.
Where are we going? Somewhere horrible.
I'll always find you.
I will destroy you if it is the last thing I do.
So Once Upon a Time is about this evil queen in fairy tale land, and she puts a curse on everyone, and she sends them to our world, and where they're trapped, and they're not able to achieve their happily ever afters, essentially. So there's only one savior who can help them, and it's this woman named Emma Swan, who's played by Ginnifer Morrison. On her 20th birthday, she gets a surprise visit from her 10-year-old son that she gave up for adoption. So Henry comes to visit her, and he lives in Storybrooke, Maine, and he shows her this book of fairy tales, and he's like, the people in my town are trapped. They're from this book. And she, of course, doesn't believe him, but she takes him back to town, and she discovers, like, there's something weird going on. She doesn't completely believe his story, like it's so far-fetched, but she wants to figure out why. So the rest of the series is Emma trying to save the townspeople and seeing how she can give them all their happily ever afters.
I mean, considering that it's a kind of a fairy tale show, is it corny at all?
It's interesting because the writing is so good that it never veers into the corny territory. Okay. As she meets different characters in the town, we get to see their backstory. So for instance, she meets this woman named Ruby at the diner, and we find out Ruby is actually Little Red Riding Hood. And we see the Little Red Riding Hood episode where it's really interesting is that she turned out that she was the wolf all along. So what's good about the writing of the show is that they take what we already know and do a really fun twist with it. So Adam Horowitz and Edward Kitsis created this show, and a lot of the staff writers from Lost also work on this show. So you can tell that there's definitely a lot of mystery going on and really strong character development. Disney owns ABC, and this show is on ABC, so it draws a lot of the characters and the worlds from previous Disney movies. So we get characters who weren't really in fairy tales like Jiminy Cricket, or we get scenes from Alice in Wonderland, and they incorporate a lot of those characters, but they do it in a more adult way. The spin that they take on traditional Disney stories is really interesting.
Though it did have a very bumpy second season, AMC's highest rated drama has some tricks up its sleeves and ended very well. See it.
Fairy tales are really trendy at the moment, but Once Upon a Time manages to stand out because of its strong writing. See it.
It's easy to get caught up in the entanglement that is The Killing because of the atmosphere, the strong performances, and the way in which the writers engage you in caring about these characters. See it. So there's lots of great viewing on television this season. Check out these 3 dramas. Set your DVRs. Cheers.
Cheers.